G'day folks, and welcome back to the channel for a showcase video of my patch 1.2 physical Forcewave Deathknight build. This is an endgame evolution of my Forcewave Deathknight that I leveled recently. You can find the full guided playthrough series in the playlist section of this channel. You can level this character in the exact same style as it plays at level 100, you just get stronger and better gear at level 100. This build will also work for any Soldier Mastery combination, and it could be argued that it would work better as a Warlord or a Witchblade, but Deathknight is the easy version and it is plenty powerful. With that said, let's get into the build. First up is the items. The only set we're using is 3 pieces of the Octavius set. We're only using 3 pieces because the 4th piece is a shield, and we're doing spam Forcewave rather than cooldown, so we go with the 2-handed weapon. 3 pieces of Octavius gives us a large chunk of physical resistance, and the 2-piece bonus gives us some nice damage. The individual pieces provide bonus to Forcewave levels and physical damage. We are using the chest, the helmet, and the shoulders. For our weapon, we're using a mythical Stonefist's Rebuke for its bonuses to Forcewave, both range and damage, as well as a nice chunk of physical resistance. It's also just a very nice stick to hit things with. For our jewelry, we're using the tried and true combination of the mythical Combustion Band and the mythical Ring of the Black Matriarch, which do look like they'd be more at home on fire or poison based builds, but the proc on both the rings provides physical resistance shred that stacks with the rest of our build, and they do come with some physical damage as well. The Judicator's Seals could also work here for a more defensive setup. Our amulet is the Mythical Avenger of Cain for the large amount of maximum resistances and +1 to soldier skills. You could also use Blood Surge or the Blood Rage's gem here, but I prefer the safety because hardcore. Our medal is the Mythical Sigil of the Bear King. We're taking this for extra crit damage on Forcewave, as well as the damage proc. For our relic, we're going with Deathstalker, which will require farming the Ancient Grove, but provides us with a player-scaled pet that shreds physical resistances and again stacks with the rest of our build. Pants here are the Mythical Chauceress of Barbaros. These come with a damage and speed buff when you get hit, as well as skill bonuses and physical resistance. This build has quite low lifesteal percentage though, so if you feel like you need more, a good pair of Soleil Sect leg guards could double that and help ease the pressure on resistances. Having said that, this build also doesn't really rely on lifesteal to stay alive. For our boots, we have the Mythical Bone Shatter Treads, a physical damage set of boots with bonuses to skills we use, a damage proc when hit, and physical resistance. You could swap this out for Windshear Greaves or Stone Treaders if you wanted to be a bit more defensive. For our gloves, we're using the Grasp of Unchained Might. These provide a large percentage of casting speed that we need to cap our casting speed, as well as skill bonuses we need and some flat physical damage. Lastly, we have the belt. Now there's 3 options for the belt. You could go all purple and use the reforged Chains of Oleron. For some more flat damage, crit damage, and +1 to soldier skills, this option really hurts your resistances though. The second option is the Ogdenbog Girdle. This comes with +1 to soldier skills, vitality resistance, and percent increase armor as standard. You can farm these in the Ogdenbog or Gloomwald from the crabs. This is what I was using for a very long time until I got to the third option. The third option is to craft a Stoneplate Waistguard. This option is going to be expensive though. The one I'm using cost me about 6 to 8 million bits as well as somewhere around 700 scrap. Ideally, you want a prefix with resistances you need, so something like Impervious or Harmonious or Warding, and then you want Of Supremacy for the suffix, because Of Supremacy will give us +2 to Forcewave, and we need that somewhere in our build in order to cap Forcewave. In terms of skills, this is almost entirely a soldier build, with only minor support being needed from the secondary mastery. This is why I said this could work for any soldier mastery combination. This particular version is a Deathknight though, so we've got some skills from Necromancer. Spectral Binding and Spectral Wrath are taken for the health buff, large amounts of flat aether damage which we partially convert to physical, and more importantly, the physical resistance shred which stacks with our other sources of percent reduction. Mark of Torment was heavily nerfed in patch 1.2, you basically want to put either 3 points for value or 10 points for effect here. Most of our points, as I said, are in the soldier tree, starting with our main skill, which is Forcewave. This is capped at 26 out of 16. Rending Force is as close to hard capped as I could get it without swapping our Deathstalker relic, and Internal Trauma has just 1 point for the slower enemy attacks. Reflected damage over time hurts, and putting more points here would simply get us killed for very little benefit. We overwrite our dot several times per second. We're using Blitz as a movement skill and Blindside for shredding enemy defensive ability, and also so we can crit more. Warcry is used for both reducing enemy damage as well as shredding their resistances, and is capped. For buffs, we have soft capped on Field Command and Squad Tactics. This gives us casting speed, all damage, offensive defensive ability, and 25% increased armor. We have 12 points in Fighting Spirit for all damage when we get hit, as well as a chunk of offensive ability. We have 1 point in Menhir's Will. This is a circuit breaker and basically means when we get low, we get a large chunk of health back as well as some regeneration. 10 points in Military Conditioning for extra health and physique. Only 5 points in Veterancy. This is 1 hard point plus 4 soft points. This just reduces the physique requirement for our armor and means we can put more into Cunning if we so desire. Decorated Soldier is soft capped at 8 out of 8. This is here for the slow resistance mostly, although the elemental resistance is nice. Scars of Battle at 5 out of 8 for increased armor absorption percentage, bleed resist, and some crowd control resist. This is enough to get our armor absorption up to 99%, and if I had another skill point available, I would put it here. In terms of devotions, this is pretty similar to the leveling tree, although there have been some changes made. With that said though, you can absolutely just use the same tree as we use while leveling, but I will showcase the differences here. This is still a two-handed build, so we take the Kraken. Dire Bear is here for the proc. This will shred enemy armor as well as give us some lifesteal. The Solemn Watcher is basically there because it's a good defensive node and gives us the colors we need. The Tortoise is here for Turtle Shell, which is honestly probably the best death save ability in the game. Assassin's Blade is here entirely for the proc. That minus 32% physical resistance for us is basically 33% more damage. Azrakar, we've swapped the point from the head into the proc now. Since we have the Deathstalker relic, we have something to bind this to, and this is shredding enemies' offensive ability and also giving them impaired aim and some extra damage as well. This is one of the changes from the leveling tree. Down here we have Ulzvad, Herald of Korvac. This is the same proc as for leveling. This is just more damage and gives us some armor as well. The Toad and the Empty Throne for stats, resistances, and crowd control, duration reduction. We've kept the 4 points in the Crab because Arcane Barrier. It's actually really good. And then the other change we've made is that we have the Chariot of the Dead now. This was swapped out of the Scales of Volkama, so we no longer have Scales, and instead we have the Chariot. Now this is only level 13 out of 20. I believe at level 20 it has an 8-second skill recharge, but this is basically defensive ability and armor, as well as a large heal every couple of seconds when you get hit. This is less healing than the Scales, but also if you look through the nodes here, this is a lot of Cunning, this is a lot of offensive ability, this is offensive ability, this is more offensive ability. This will help us to crit, and we do a lot of crit damage with Forcewave. To show how the build performs, this is a run I did of Shattered Realm Shard 80, and I'm going to speed this up to double to get through it a bit faster. This is a 7-minute run where I clear all the bosses I run into, and I think Shattered Realm 80 on a hardcore character is a pretty good benchmark to say that the build is good. I'm going to let this run now, and I'll see you at the end of it. Timestamps are below if you wish to skip forward. That was Shattered Realm 80, completed in 7 minutes with Xantaran, Kai'San, Iron Maiden, and Fabius kills. This was recorded first thing after I put the gear on at level 100, and I honestly had no idea if I'd be able to do it. It was also the first time I'd seen Sunder, and the build was able to generally face tank SR80, even while sundered. Only Kai'San really provided an actual threat, and that was the only time this character has come anywhere close to death since starting it at level 1. This build is suitable for getting every achievement in the game, and is the build that I would recommend playing as either your first character because it's easy to learn, or as your first hardcore character because it can be made tanky without relying on player input. Forcewave is strong enough to carry the build in terms of damage or by itself, and when supported with Soldier's impressive suite of passives, makes for a very impressive build. If you've got this far into the video, then I'd just like to thank you for watching, and ask that you consider liking the video if you've enjoyed it or found it helpful. Stay tuned for more Grim Dawn 1.2 content, but that's going to be the end of this video, so thank you for watching, I'll see you in the next one, and bye for now.